All right, guys, and we're back, episode number 68 of the Daru Strong Podcast. I'm your host, Phil Daru. Today, I have my guy, Mr. Mental Muscle himself, Mind, Body, One, Nick Davenport, on the podcast. We talk a little bit about cognitive conditioning. We also talk about the mindset of a fighter, talk a little bit about Dustin Poirier and his upcoming fights and our relationship with him. But before we do that, before we get into the interview, I have to talk about the sponsors. My main sponsor is VivoBarefoot.com. Vivo Barefoot is the shoe or minimalistic shoe that I've been rocking for a long time now. My entire gym has been rocking it. Also with my fighters, helps with full foot functionality, strengthening up your feet. It's also very stylish, if I might say so myself. Make sure you use my discount code Daru Strong at your final checkout. You get 10% off on your final purchase. If you are a coach and you want to learn some of the methods, the systems, the protocols that I use from myself and my athletes, check out my mentorship program. It's a one-time fee. You'll get access for life. I go over all my systems, my protocols to training athletes. Plus, we talk about business and opening up your own brand, starting your own business, whether it be a gym business or just a general fitness brand that you want to improve upon and make some money off of. All right, so again, that's online. You can check it out, darustrong.com. Again, one-time fee, access for life. Also, if you are interested in coming and visiting me at my gym in Boca Raton, Florida, we have the first ever Daru Strong Fitness Business Conference going down December 11th through the 12th. Presenters are going to be Joe DeFranco, Jordan Shallow, Bo Hightower, Dr. Bo Hightower, Dr. Jordan Shallow, can't forget that. And we also have Kyle Dobbs, Chris Sassooni, and also myself, and a special guest appearance, Mr.
Don't tell him.
Okay, I won't tell him. You got to show up. So get your tickets now, darustrong.com, and I'll see you there. Now, let's get on to the interview.
Welcome to the Daru Strong Podcast. Daru Strong Podcast.
Let's go. Mind over matter. Put your mind somewhere else and keep going. That little voice in your head is trying to stop you from getting to where you want to be. Be successful and keep moving forward.
With your host and world-renowned strength and conditioning coach, Phil Daru.
Nick Davenport on the podcast once again. Mr. Mental Muscle, Mind, Body, One. Internationally known. Don't worry, I'm coming. I got you. Don't worry, it's coming. It's coming. Not so good with the ladies.
Oh, he got me there.
Got him, big.
I ain't gonna lie to you guys. Don't let Instagram fool you. I ain't balling like that with the women. I'm keeping the G.
He's got different colored balls on his shirt, bro. You ain't pulling no tits with that. Pop, pop, pop.
Hey.
This goes back to high school. I've been doing this since high school.
It didn't change. I wasn't getting girls then. And side note, I was the same size. I was lighter. I was like 6 foot, 190. And still couldn't pull.
Can we get a? Maybe I'm gonna have.
Got to find a clip.
You gotta find a clip of an old school.
Like maybe it was at Auburn, that pic.
No, that's way back. When you did the show, you did a bodybuilding show.
Oh,
yeah.
Nah, that's we talked about that before, me and Devin. Like, y'all gotten on me.
Can we get a picture?
And they've gotten on me because I got the happy weight and let myself get out of shape, but COVID brought me back down. So there's that.
Oh, it did.
Yeah, I lost 20 pounds.
Damn, you were big then.
When you gave me that, hey, bro, you slipping.
Yeah, nah.
I was too.
I didn't even let him come. Listen, let me let you guys know. If you are not watching this and you're listening, I didn't even let him get through the front door without. I didn't let him get through the front door.
Keep that.
without checking him. I had to check him. It's a friendly check. I was like, you know what? You messing up for real.
But I knew it.
For
so
sure.
When you did it, it was like, I know. Like, it was like we both got kids. Yeah. So it was like, your daughter, your son broke something. That's how I felt.
You eating all the snacks. All the snacks.
So sadly, COVID had to wake me up. But hey,
but you're back healthy now.
Okay. I still need to get down another 10 and I'll be good. I'm 230.
I mean, as far as from the C-19.
Oh yeah, I beat it. Like them charges. No.
Vid tried to take
a
everybody
napkin
out.
because I definitely contaminated.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff on here. Anyway,
are you gonna keep that?
All right, so listen, for the people that may not know who you are and follow us, follow me, they should know who you are. But let's go ahead and give them a quick bio of how you got started in the industry and what you're doing now.
So yeah, like Phil said, we go back to high school days. We played football together at Deerfield. And back then we both were into like fitness and exercise science, but we were just kids messing around. Me and him would lead the weight room exercises. So that was a path I originally was on as a strength coach. And me and Phil stayed in touch over the years, like talking back and forth every now and then. And then I got into the psych field in college. So I was like, how do you mix these together? So I made Mind Body One, or mental muscle fitness. Then that became Mind Body One, because I said, why can't we just mix these together? We reconnected with Dustin. That opened doors for me in the fight world. I got fortunate enough to go to UFC Institute on training other fighters. I got to work with the military off of that. So it opened up a lot of doors. So
Yeah, name some of the fighters you've worked with so far.
Dustin Poirier, Junior Dos Santos, Claudia Gadelia, Juliana Pena. She's getting ready for Amanda Nunez in a few months, which Dustin will also be on. I got Victor Pesta. He was in the UFC. Now he's working, fighting in octagons. Pretty much anyone you work with, I think I've at least gotten one or two. Edson Barbosa.
Edson Barbosa, yeah.
Those are probably the most consistent ones. Carlos Jr., he was pretty consistent. So
how was Demetrius Johnson when you worked with him?
Oh, that was surreal because he knew who I was. Like, he didn't know my name, but it's like, I seen this with Dustin Poirier. And I'm like, that was me. I was like, oh, this sounds cool. And so we did a commercial for a video game, because people know he's a huge video gamer with Rainbow Six. So we shot that. He did a challenge versus a non-athlete that's like a YouTube gamer, and it was called Athlete vs. Gamer. So he was a real nice dude, very fun to be around, jokester. So it was great.
How did he do with all the work?
I think in comparison to the fighters, he was pretty ranked amongst, let's say, the fighters we work with. But with the gamer, he he beat him. But I think that makes sense because they're looking at screens. They have to quickly react. Even though he's an avid gamer, that's not his sport, you know.
Okay. So for the ones that probably haven't seen the videos of you doing work, can you give them a quick understanding of what you do from the cognitive side and how we kind of coined the term cognitive conditioning?
Oh, yeah. So basically, we take in information. If you're in a fight, you've seen the opponent calculate what he's going to do. You got to be mindful of head movement, watch for jabs, all that good stuff. So your process, your brain's always going. So with these drills we do, the cognitive conditioning methods, the goal is to put a load of thinking. So for example, you might have seen the lights. We use these things that measure reaction time. So basically the goal is, can I get you to take information quickly, accurately, and in a fast time? Because in fighting, I've actually analyzed this. I did a video a few years back, and it ranges between 0.3 to 0.5 seconds. So 0.3 to half a second time it takes for a knockout to occur. I literally did it with like 20 fighters, and it was always between 0.3 to 0.5. So when we do drills with the fighters, that's what we're looking for. Can we get that time lower? And then I add more lows, like we'll call out numbers to remember why you react. And so now it's taking away that attention. So the end goal is, can you take in information quick, efficiently, and be calm under the pressure too? So that's what we do.
Nice. And who have you had so far when it comes to fighters? And you have other athletes too, but amongst the fighters, who has been the best that you've seen be able to do the work that we do? This Saturday, there will be blood. Head to mybookie.ag and get in on the UFC First Blood promotion. When any fighter on the main card bleeds, you win. The second you see blood, you get paid. With this bet centered around 5 main card bouts, including 2 title fights, you know the octagon won't stay dry for long, so take advantage of this opportunity to make some easy money with MyBookie. Nick Diaz has bled in 3 of his last 4 fights, and Robbie Lawler is no stranger to a bloody scrap himself. So you know by the end of his 5-round rematch, blood will be spilled. Head to MyBookie now and use promo code DARU to start off with a double deposit bonus. That's promo code DARU, D-A-R-U, to double your money so you can double your winnings with MyBookie. And that's not all. If you deposit now, you'll also get a free entry into MyBookie's $50,000 NFL survival pool. That's a double deposit bonus, free money on UFC, and a free shot at $50,000. That's what I call a winning season. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.
Got to be Dustin Poirier, because not only is obviously he's been probably the most consistent that we've done with this over I think be 4 years next week. I think the 25th or 26th of September. So 4 years, every camp since then we've worked together. And I've evolved with him. You've evolved. Like, it's crazy how all our journeys parallel. And with him, it's not just that he does it a lot. Obviously, you get better if you do it a lot. But even before, in the first time, compared to, like, I won't say names, but other fighters we work with, he was catching on quicker with the reactions or the decisions, and you would throw more things at him. And funny thing, always joke, he would get better when it got harder. And you can kind of see that in his actual fight career. Like, he's never, like, not knocking any other fighter, but I think from my biased opinion, his fight, like, schedule, or what do you want to call it, has increased every fight. So it's not like the stakes were like lower. Like everyone he fought was the next highest rank.
Yeah, he hasn't had an easy fight ever, but like for the past 5 years, I'd say he probably had the toughest fights of the UFC.
Yes, definitely.
So why is that though? Why do you feel, and why does he have that ability? And is that because of the fact that he is at the elite level?
I'll say definitely that, but I'll give it like a brief story. Like I was hanging out with him a few years back and was at his house watching Fightville.
Fucking stories, here we go.
But this goes into the question though. So
what'd you do after this? This is going to lead on to this. Let's go. Let's do that story, but I want to know what happened after the fact.
Me and Dustin was watching Fightville, a story about him and his come up to the UFC.
Make sure you check out Fightville if you are a Dustin Poirier fan, if you haven't checked it out.
So we was chilling, watching it, and it was very inspirational because that's before he had the glitz and glamour. And I saw one scene, he was fighting in a barn for probably $500. I don't know how much he got paid. Probably won a lot.
Most likely $500.
So it's like, is that even worth it? And it's like, the video, obviously I know him in real life, but seeing that as well really made me think like, this guy just has a different mindset. You've seen it with his training, with strength and conditioning. I've seen it with the mental. He doesn't back down. And it's something like, I noticed that some people see trouble or pressure and say, nah, I'm gonna take the easier route. And I know it's cliche, they say travel the road less, or take the road less traveled, but he honestly takes the road less traveled. Like you said, every fight, he doesn't back down. He never said, nah, I want somebody else, or no, I'm gonna wait. He said, nah, let's do it. And that's the only way to achieve anything is to take on every challenge, even if you don't want to.
Yeah, he's definitely paid in full. He loves to say that, but that's true.
James Brown.
Yeah, so, all right, so now with that being said, I know that the first exercise we did was the reaction drill, right? With the lights?
So yeah, we had the red, it was the red, yellow, green, blue one, where you had to put them out in that same order, but we did it more a little physically then. Like, since then I veered away because obviously you have your method so we don't interfere, but that was more rudimentary in the sense of like he was just reacting. But since then it's evolved because we added, like say, different features. Like one of the most popular ones I've done that gets so much love when I post it is when he fought McGregor both times. And you've seen it with he called it McGregor math. I didn't really have a name for it, but it was when he would show a picture of McGregor and then the screen would show an equation. If it was red, you add, blue, you subtract. And if there's no equation, you say the opposite color. And it seems pretty simple when I say like that, oh, you're adding 3 plus 8, 4 plus 2, 4 minus 1, whatever. But when you're doing it quickly and then it's only up there for half a second, gone. And then you have lights going off. So I see how fast you can react to the light, which he did in about 0.4 seconds, which goes into that time frame. Like, a lot of people see this stuff and think it's gimmicky, but when you get to the numbers and the science of it, it makes a lot of sense. Obviously, it doesn't mimic fighting, and I'm big on not, me and you will never allow to punch in at lights like everyone likes to do gimmicky stuff like that. But when you look at it, he can take in and see from his peripheral what's going on in half a second or less. That still focus what's directly in front of him. Isn't that not fighting? Being aware of your surroundings, but still centered on the target. Yeah. And that's what we're doing there.
And again, it is specific in the sense of what you actually need from an attribute standpoint for the fight game, because you need to have quick reaction timing, right? You need to be able to see something and react accordingly. You also need to have depth perception. You need to have proprioception. You need to also, be able to identify an issue and then solve that issue as fast as humanly possible. That's the fight game. Not to say that we are using it for specific 1-2 punches or anything like that. And that's where like, how's this correlate? How can you prove it? Well, you can prove it hands down by the fights that they've been winning. But
go off anecdotal, yes. And then 8-1, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Like at the end of the day, the numbers don't lie for sure. And we're talking about numbers being you progressing from your testing scores, but then the wins don't lie either. So that's from my point of view.
You know that site with the stats, UFC stats? Yeah. So I actually started compiling this when I first started working with Dustin, and I got away from it because it's just a lot of work I need to get back to. So I was looking at every top lightweight from 1 to probably 10, and I was looking at 1 or 2 statistics, head hits and hits hit in the head by the opponent. So what I saw was, I need to finish this because this was like say 3-4 years ago. I saw consistency with all the fighters we work with. I took their numbers. I took that Dustin because he's the most consistent, so it's easier to get it because I've worked with him a lot. Yeah. What I saw was the percentage was usually higher for him delivering headshots landed, and lower receiving them. And this makes a lot of sense because when you talk about perception, depth perception, getting out the way, that comes down to taking the information and processing. So I'm not sure, like, don't quote me on the science, but like we should look more into, like, maybe UFC Institute, holla at me, but like this is something we look into.
The PI, UFC Performance Institute.
My bad, I forgot the P.
Yeah, they ain't gonna holla at you because you didn't even say the name right. See? What's wrong with you?
They know what I meant.
Bo and Duncan, holla at them. They know who you are.
Yeah, and Forrest followed me the other day.
Yeah, Forrest, man.
He followed me. I was like, hey, what's up?
Yeah, we gotta go back out to Vegas. I like to see the Apex and how they reformulated. Like, they had a second gym. They added a second gym to the Apex. So if a guy is fighting another guy, let's say Francis Ngannou is fighting, who's the other guy he's fighting? The Frenchman, forgot his name.
I can't say it, but I know you're talking about.
Yeah, they're gonna kill me for that, not knowing his name. But so if those two guys are fighting, let's say for instance Francis wants to go ahead and train in the PI, and the other guy can train at the Apex, and they can still get their strength and conditioning at the same time, but they're not obviously in the same room.
Conflict.
Yeah, so
you've dealt with that a lot. I remember back in the days.
I mean, we had to deal with it just recently in the gym now.
Non-gain, 0 gain.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that's him.
So. Now we're really gonna get hate. It's pronounced it wrong. No. Jeez. So like, just recently, they weren't fighting, like, but they were about to fight. I would say, we had Brandon Allen in here and Jocko.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But like, they weren't scheduled to fight. They weren't, signed a contract, but they want to fight each other.
Wow.
So they were going back and forth, and like one guy would come in, the other guy would leave. But at ATT, it was like all the time.
Oh yeah, I remember those.
Yeah. So I remember at one point I had Tisha fighting Joanna.
Oh yeah, that was great.
And then Will Brooks, right? He had what's it?
One of the Russian dudes. Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Omar? No,
it wasn't Omari. It's too big. But it was like a PFL for a PFL title and the $1 million.
That's huge.
So it was Rashid Magomedov.
Yeah.
Rashid, yeah. And so I trained Rashid at like 5 and Will at 6.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
And then I had Arlovsky fighting Walt Harris.
Oh, dang. Yeah,
So
a lot of them conflicts.
Yeah, it was wild.
That's the crazy thing about the fight game. Is really with team sports, you know who your opponent is. It's cut and dry.
Yeah, I mean, it's different. I mean, for me, it's good. It's not as bad as like a skills coach because we're not teaching them specific, combinations and game planning to hurt the guy, but we are getting them prepared. It's almost similar to a weight cut. Like, I know Lockhart goes through that a lot with a lot of his guys, or he did. Eric Pena now does it a lot now. So it's definitely interesting. How do you, when you have somebody, I know you've had to have something like that, right? Or at least have worked with one person who fights another person at that point, right?
I think this one was the close. It wasn't the same because I didn't work with her when Nina fought Claudia. Remember that?
Yeah.
So that was not the same, but it's kind of crazy because it's like you would make fun of me, like, oh, you training Claudia, huh?
Yeah.
And then she beat her. So, so yeah, that was probably the closest one. Yeah. I guess it was more me, you versus the athletes.
I know. See, we got
like, you gonna work with the other team.
Always competition.
Hey, that's type A.
That's it. So let's talk about that too. We did a YouTube video recently on the type A mentality, right? And how fighters usually, primarily, are going to have that type A mentality. Can we go over that a little bit of what that actually entails and what type of person that is?
Oh yeah, so straightforward. First and foremost, competitive. They're going to do whatever it takes. Like I always say, sometimes it might be frowned upon, not necessarily cheating, but it might be like, oh dang, you went too far, and that could lead into like not balancing life, work against the clock, which means every minute of the day counts. There's no like, you can use your today. Like, we don't waste time because something got to get done. And especially when you're the leader, because type A are typically leader, you very rarely find a type A person in the background. And if he is in the background, more than likely it's another guy or person just like him or her doing it. So they ain't following somebody who's not aggressive or straightforward going for it like that.
Yeah.
Also, we're going back to like goal orientation. They're looking for the process. I got to get this done. If it takes me 10 hours or 1 hour, doesn't matter to me. I just see the end goal. Because the type B on the other side of the spectrum, they're looking more so like go with the flow. And while you can still be successful in that way, there's definitely like, like say someone like maybe like Steve Jobs, bad example. He's type A with type B tendencies, but he's still very aggressive. But
what does that mean though? Type A, type B tendencies. What does that mean?
So type B is the other side. So if type A is the overly competitive, gotta get it no matter what. Type B is the other side. If it happens, it happens. Not saying they don't care. It's just like if something comes up along the way, I'll come back to it versus like, no, I gotta finish this. Like person who's type A, if he or she like came up with a like say you had a family engagement or something at 6 p.m. but you had to do a podcast at 4:40. You would fit that 4:40 and then leave at 5:50 and get there at 6:02 because you know that despite the family engagement or whatever it is, you got to get stuff done. Type B person, they're going to be like, you know what? I can get the podcast later. That can wait. I'll put it off my schedule for another time. I'm going to go be with my family, which comes to another point, work-life balance. Type A people typically are told, you're all work and no play, but people got to understand. I use an analogy. I said to my little brother the other day, like, I don't believe in work-life balance in the way people preach it as like, you got to have equal work and equal life to have fun or have a good time. Like, I feel it's like, I use an analogy of a scale, right? Let's say you have 5 pounds of like feathers and 5 pounds of gold. Same thing, right? But what holds more value? Like, obviously, I can go out and hang out with friends, get drinks or whatever it may be. And that's fun. I'm not going to say I don't do that, but it's a lower priority.
We know you do. Don't worry. Let's go back to that.
We ain't going back to nothing.
I need to hear this.
What?
We'll talk about the story later.
I told you the story.
No, you didn't tell it on the podcast.
No, I'm talking about the Fightville story. That's what story I meant.
No, I meant
what story you talking about?
You know what I'm talking about.
I can't say it. That's too hot for TV. What you mean? Jerry Springer style. If we go into that route, like last time it was all.
No, you're gonna tell it. You're gonna tell it, but it's gonna be like PG 13.
Last time on the podcast, it was all science. We had some fun, but more the now we getting personal. Okay.
Shout out. What episode was that? That was like
9.
Episode 9.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to episode 9 if you haven't listened to it.
And that was impromptu. I think you had a cancellation. I was just sitting there working on my computer. I was like, hey, you got time? Like, hey,
I actually have a question for you, Phil.
What's up?
Pertaining to fighting and the record that we were speaking about. So you've been on the streak. You know, all your fighters, they've been knocking shit out. All the ones that have been coming and training with you consistently have been knocking stuff out. The ones that are with you consistently. But you had one fight with Dustin a while ago. He lost. 2, Kabuki. Right? When that loss happened, a lot of people went to talking shit.
Man, I remember that.
You went to like running their mouth. How do you deal with knowing that, you know, adversity comes to everybody, but you're on a win streak. So what do you do when everything's going well and then boom, something?
It's bound to happen. I almost plan for those things to occur. Like nothing in life is a straight linear progression, right? There's always going to be, even with stock trends, you see that goes up and down, even the greatest trends. But at the end of the day, like you plan and you prepare for those setbacks to allow yourself to grow from those setbacks. Failure is another means to getting better if you truly understand the process. So with that, you know, there was a lot going on with that particular fight. Definitely a big step up in competition, but again, it wasn't just that. It was more so the surroundings, you know, the magnitude of the fight itself. So there was a lot going on there, and I was proud of him for going out there and putting on a show and almost finishing Khabib and giving him a run for his money for sure. And then obviously you're gonna have the naysayers, the haters or whatever, that are gonna say, oh, he was doing this, why was he doing that? And now everybody's somewhat of a critic, and
everybody knows everything.
Everybody knows everything, right? They're all professionals now.
I saw they were talking about, he's from the mountains, and none of that mattered. It had nothing to do with that.
No, it's a fight. It's it is what it is. You're the best man on that day. So to answer the question, we always look for that to happen, and that's where we plan accordingly. We figure out what's going to be the next step to evolve, to get better, to progress. And I look forward to those things. In any business or any form of professionalism, you're going to have dips. You're going to have those waves that come in and out. And for that, with every triumph, with every success comes another failure. And with those failures, you become more adapted to the setbacks. And for that, it allows you to keep progressing going forward. So you're fortunate enough to actually have that be brought upon you, because now you know what you need to get better with, and it gives you more self-awareness when you go through these situations.
It definitely made him hungrier. Like, he took on the #1 lightweight, considered pound for pound great, and he went in there, like you said, put him in a guillotine that I remember I was at the restaurant in Atlanta, actually. So I remember when he lost, I text you immediately, like, I think I just said, damn. And he was like, my stomach's like sunk. Because it's like, people understand, even though we're not out there and, like you said, we're not skill coaches, granted, we spend a decent amount of time with fighters, so it's almost like you in there. Like, I've never been in the cage, so you at least know how I feel, so you probably feel even more. But when he fight, I lose my voice every time because I'm like yelling, like people at the restaurant thought I was crazy. You in there too, so it's a lot on the line, and you feel it just like they do. Obviously, not exactly like they do, but but yeah.
Yeah, it's a different feeling. Like, if you never really fought before, you wouldn't understand to that degree, to that magnitude. But again, if you have, like, I sat with, usually if I go to the fights, I'm sitting next to the family, you know, so I'll be with Jolie and the other family members, and like you can feel their nerves, you know. I'm the same, but I have a little bit more understanding of how the process goes. And not to say that I'm not nervous, because again, you don't have any control in that situation, right? So you're not in there fighting. I used to get, and everybody says that, every coach will say this if they fought before, it's like, you know, you were less nervous for your own fights than you are for your own athletes. That's crazy. And it's very true, because when it's your own fight, you're in control of the situation. But I believe with him, it's a different aspect. And we're talking about Dustin because, one, he's arguably one of the best fighters in the world. I do believe he is. We've had a relationship, you know, that's succeeded over time, and for that, and it goes with us too as well. Watching the progressions, even after failures, right? I do believe, even with the, you know, with the Eddie Alvarez eye poke.
Oh yeah.
Remember that, and the no contest, like. There was always a state of understanding, like, okay, now we just got to go back to the drawing board. We got to get better. And he proved it. He got better and got better and got better and got better. And every time he would come into camp, he would be that much more in shape. So I'm really interested to see how he comes in this camp for Oliveira. The fight still, you know, the contract still being worked on, but at the end of the day, that's the next fight to make.
It makes sense, right?
So we'll see. But yeah, getting back to that championship mindset and that type A mentality, that guy right there solidifies that hands down. I think that he's the one that I would say, based upon all the athletes and fighters that I've worked with over the years, and I've worked with probably over 200 plus fighters at the highest elite level, UFC, Bellator, you know, you name it. But he definitely is one of those guys that you're like, yeah, you got it, and I know why you have it, you know.
Yeah.
There's others that come to mind too as well, and there's others that are on the come up that I see, and I'm like, yo, he's gonna be good. So we'll see. Ian Gary is another one, man. I think he's gonna be really good. A kid from Ireland.
Yeah, you told me about him.
He's actually, I think he's gonna be the biggest thing from Ireland.
Hey, I'm with it
right now.
Ian
Gary.
You made me think of a good point.
Future.
Going back to Dustin, like, when we talk about, like, with the type A, not turning down a challenge no matter how much, one thing I noticed, which means a lot to me from what I do with the mental training, is because I get pushback. Like, I work with all types of people, so I've gotten pushback from fighters, other athletes, non-athletes, military, police. He's never once questioned anything I did. And that means a lot because this industry is still unique. I'm one of the forerunners, granted, but it's still unique and new. So a lot of people don't really buy into it. So the fact that he's never questioned, like, he's questioning in the sense of why we're doing it. But he understands and trusts me, just like you. If I'm going to do this with him or Nick or Phil, there's a reason, and they're not going to let me down. That level of trust with any coach is, like, priceless. So I respect them for that, because when you, not even hate to say it, I honestly can say that when we did the countdown with the Pettis fight, that really opened the door for this training, for not just fighting, but let's be real. You see IG, a lot of people are doing this stuff to a different extent. I'm not going to get into that, but it's like that was a catalyst. So he has indirectly, he has a big role in just the mental training industry, because he's been a forefront of it on numerous times on ESPN, has been shown with us doing it. So it's like he's really changed the game in that regard, because he's never once said, oh, this is nonsense. Now, he'll tell me, like, I don't know if this is applicable, and I'll be like, great, because now I could go back home and reconfigure. So our relationship with that stuff has helped me become a better, because I use this analogy when people ask me, how do you get to work with such high-profile clients, military, all that? I say, this is literally what I tell them. I say, what would I program for Dustin Poirier? And that's how I come with it, because I feel like that's a standard that if I can't come with him, no one else needs to do it, because that's the standard of excellence.
So, yeah, and I know I have a lot of coaches that listen to this podcast, so and probably ones that have your stuff and do your stuff, you know. What would be the biggest thing that you would say to help create that buy-in with an athlete that is trying to do cognitive conditioning?
Well, first and foremost, I guess it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it, know your stuff, because with the physical, it's a lot of like things that are common sense that it's easier to buy people in, because if you see someone doing a squat, you don't have to be a master of exercise science to understand, okay, this is for your glutes, quads, whatever it may be. But if you come in there and say we're going to do some type of hand-eye drill or reaction, it's easy to swindle, I don't know if swindle's the right word, but like mislead the client because they don't really know. Like you say neuron, like you always tell me, calm down on the talk, because I like to go into it, but it's like, that's what's the hard thing to buy in. So knowing your stuff, because if you really know it, you can explain it like a fifth grader. Sure. And that's what I do. Like I can talk, because I've been in rooms with like PhDs who know way more than I do about cognitive and neuroscience and psychology, but they couldn't tell an athlete how to do a single thing. And vice versa. I've been with high-level coaches in sports, but they couldn't tell you the basics of like working memory or decision making. And while I understand that, I can talk to them and be like, this is how it makes sense in the real world. And that's where the trust comes in, because if you sound like you just spitting a bunch of random words, it's going to be like, one, you trying to sound too smart, or you're belittling me, and no one likes to feel that way. And you, like I said, you've helped me with that, because I think first month or so was working, I had a bad habit of like talking as a scientist, and that helped me reshape how I coach. So and I got your mentorship before anybody else. For free. Shit. Oh shoot, I'm getting an invoice. I'll get an invoice later.
Hit him. So yeah, I think that's a main thing right there. It's more about like being able to bridge the gap, and I see that a lot, because I have a lot of academics that come to me from, whether it be for internship, whether it be to start at the gym, or when we're doing conferences and things like that. They always ask me, how do I relay over the information to the athlete? And again, it's keeping it as simple as possible. And then if they ask more questions, some guys do like to learn the science and understand and have that knowledge to really grasp what they're doing. But for the most part, these guys are warriors, so they just want to get after it. So
and be tired afterwards.
Yeah, it's that warrior mindset. All right, so now what's going on today? What we got going on? You're working with the tactical population. I see you doing things with at your range, pretty much, indoor range. Talk a little bit about that.
So the brain range, I kind of put on hiatus because I've been so busy with more of the mind, body, one stuff. I'm actually working with a new company called WeSauna, which is dealing with psilocybin, but they also have a performance side, which I'm leading. I'm actually director of applied cognitive science. So I'm doing basically what I've been doing, but with them as well. We got Mike Tyson on board. So I've been so busy with that. But with the brain range, the premise was take the same concepts, but we use airsoft replicas they're licensed by Glock and Smith & Wesson, all the other companies. I get those, and they're actually pretty expensive. I almost can get a real gun for the price. So we do cognitive drills where they use the FitLight, because FitLight actually makes targets for that. And we'll do different drills, like the reaction with like the regular green, blue, or impulse drill. And the goal is to have to process before you take the shot, because studies have shown just general cognitive performance, like being better at decision making and memory, has correlated with accurate shooting and not shooting wrong, like say a civilian versus a threat. So that was just general, kind of like on a computer or a tablet. So I said, why not take that premise and make it live? And you still do the computer stuff with me too as an assessment, but then you go to the brain range side of it where you actually do the shooting. And I work with Broward Sheriff's Office, which is a large police department. So basically that's starting up, but my real, obviously business and money is Mind, Body, One, but that's definitely something that's getting a lot of attention. I actually got to go to Atlanta on Sunday to work with a guy up there who's, he likes the concept, we're trying to collaborate. So yeah, I think that's the next wave, because fighting has done good for me, and I've gotten so much. That's how I got into that world, because after Dustin fought Khabib, we did a video, I think the week before he left, or the day before he left, and we were at the stadium, and that video got, I want to say, at least almost 500,000 views or something. So I actually got reached out by a representative from the U.S. Navy Special Warfare Group. And my first thought was, how did he even find me? So I asked. It's like, oh, yeah, we saw you on Daru Strong's videos. I'm like, what? So whoever was watching, I think she said it was one of their colonels or higher ups or whatever. So I'm like, So it shows some legit people watching stuff, and that's how they found me. So that means whatever they're doing in the Navy, they probably get some expertise from you. So when they hit me up from that opened up the tactical world for me. And I'm getting like a contract from the U.S. Navy Special Warfare. These are people who don't exist on paper. Like, I didn't even meet them. They asked me to send the programming. I put together my equipment, sent it to them. It was a cool experience, and then that got me more.
So can you disclose how much you made?
I could.
Are you
classified.
supposed to be disclosing this? You just said these people aren't supposed to.
No.
They gonna find his ass.
Oh man, I just snitched on myself.
I need a finder's fee, by the way.
God dang.
Nah, I'm still playing.
But it was decent. To put it like this, Trump was still president at the time, and he had to sign off on because I think the government closed off at that time, so it got delayed for a while. Yeah. And I'm like, dang it. So it's pretty surreal to know that I was like a degree separated from, if you like him or not, that was pretty cool to me. The president had some involvement in me getting paid. So, so it's like, that was a surreal moment. It was decent, like I said, but my cousin who was not special ops, intelligence in the Army, he said, you charge too cheap, bro. And I'm like, dang.
Yeah, man, they got money, bro.
Well, they're not shy about that. Like, you look at, after I started looking at contracts, and they have things for everything, for human performance. But the thing is, they look for major companies that have like millions of dollars of facilities, because they're sending all their people to this. So there was one contract for like 10 million or 3 million. It was in the millions. Yeah. But you had to be able to accommodate that. So it's like, what can you do? And then some, they need PhDs to get them.
For sure. Yeah.
But there's definitely money in the military for human performance. But you got to have that.
You got to have the end.
Indefinitely, but also the resource, because let's say you got one, you have to be able to accommodate everything they do, so you don't have the bandwidth or the capacity.
Well, that goes back to having systems in place, though, right? So whenever in any organization, you should always have a system, and for that allows you to be everywhere at once at some points, because for me, opening up a gym, organizing, and making sure that I'm able to travel here, travel there, work with so many different individuals, and still do all the stuff we do online, you need to have a system, you need to have structure, you need to have people in place, and organizing that. And that goes back to even with the military, you obviously know that they have systems in order for everything. So it makes a lot of sense. And if any of you, coaches out there, any business owners out there, I will give you that one strip of advice. Make sure that your systems are set, and that you understand that the procedures of what everyone should be going through, so that it allows you, especially if you're an owner, it allows you to be more free range, and you can work, on the business instead of in the business. I know that sounds cliche, but that's very true.
I learned that the hard way. Once again, I got this mentorship first. I learned that literally, obviously one of my close friends, but it's I would watch you, when I first started working with you and Dustin back in 2017, I posted maybe every other week. I was slacking.
Yeah.
So when I was like, dang, he's putting out content every day. So I said, I'm gonna put out content every day. If you see my videos now, damn, Nick, you speak so good. Yeah. Not saying I was horrible. I've always been a good speaker, but if you look at the video, it's night and day. I'm more fluid, confident. Yeah. I even hear my voice. You can tell I was not too sure what I was saying. Yeah. But now I could, we've done it. We literally went to that whiteboard, just go. Yeah. Devin just say go, and we talk. So I'll watch you do that, then I see how you would do with the business structures, and like you say, systems, that's not just talk, guys. I'm a one-man show. He used to be a one-man show. I'm building. So, I would see you, maybe a week or a month ago or something like that, and it's you couldn't even tell you was out of town. Because you have videos that's here that was in place, and then it's you're still doing it.
Let them know where they can find you, right? Are you going to start a YouTube channel or what? What are we doing there?
I actually got 2 now.
Oh, there we go. See?
And you inspired that too. Dang, this the man, right? If y'all don't got his mentorship, I don't know what you're sleeping on. Look what it did for me. I found what's his name, Billy Mays or something. Wait, there's more. Think about it. I had 6,000 followers. I'm at 20K now. I'm just saying, doing brain stuff. Look for anyone doing what I'm doing that got that. I'm talking my junk because I've been humble too long. But going into that, follow me at Mr. Mental Muscle at Instagram, for YouTube, Mind Body One, and then my other channel is The Mental Breakdown, which is kind of like a podcast, but it's 12-minute episodes where I take abstract concepts and make them make sense. I took what does Tom Brady and Netflix have to do with each other.
Oh, nice.
Funny enough, there's a lot of parallels.
That's dope.
Both started the same year. He got drafted.
We should have talked about that. We'll talk about that next.
Hey, I got
next episode.
I didn't tell my story. Yes. Yes.
That's coming.
I'm not you. But yeah, so follow me on the Mental Breakdown on YouTube, as well as Mind Body One, the actual company name. On Mind Body One is more so drills like how we do. Matter of fact, I ain't gonna lie, Devin, don't kill me. A few of the videos y'all put out that have me in it is on there too. I feel I'm not copywriting infringement, am I? I don't know. Oh shoot, I'm getting a cease and desist too. So I owe you an invoice for the mentorship, and I'm about to get a cease and desist letter for copyright.
I'm
Dang.
gonna have to talk to my business partners about that.
Hey, his people got people, I guess. But yeah, so check that out. You'll learn some new concepts that you can do at home. I try to keep it simple for that because I know not everyone can afford fancy tech equipment and stuff. So yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching and listening. See you again next time.
Peace.